Welcome back to the positional series, and I've been a bit caught up for a few days, hence wasn't able to upload or do even any chess practice. But I guess it's time for the comeback, and there's a tournament next week in Indore, so apparently I'm just going to prepare for it. So I'm not sure if I can play that or not. I'm running very busy nowadays, but let's just see if we can. Nonetheless, the practice is never going to go to waste, and this video as well. So let's just jump directly into it. Personally, I think that this is a very vital video on the positional play and how do you play on squares and something. I had great learnings out of the videos, and I'm pretty sure whatever level you are on, you will have some sort of learning as well. As this game particularly had some positional, subtleties which were kind of very anti-positional and very counterintuitive. But this is how this GM outplayed his opponent Brunello. Our coach Basso outplayed Brunello in the not in the opening but in the middle game and everything. And this is the deep understanding of the chessboard. I won't say it as the exact positional thing, but it's just as the topic says itself. Yeah, model game number 5, non-standard thinking, and the way he outplayed his opponent by the understanding of the chessboard, the way you use which square belongs where, and just which pieces can coordinate what plan is a good plan, and how just having positional typical positional weakness doesn't mean that you are losing the game, because the world nowadays is imbalanced. And indeed, in chess as well, everything's dynamic, and there are many certain factors which should be taken into consideration, which are definitely not stereotypical as chess used to be. So, game Bas Bernello Italian Championship 2021. Why is human compensation different from engine compensation exactly? Yeah, d4, d5, c4, e6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, bishop b4, the Ragosian defense. This was the game in round one from Italian Championship 2021. My opponent was Sabino Brunello, and he played the Ragosian. Queen a4, yeah, cd5 takes bishop g5. This is how I used to play it my whole life, and this is how I still play it. I've played this line only once, but I missed some very crucial ideas, and I had a very nice game with in Ahmednagar, I think 2 years back with my friend Shrayan. Nice game. Queen a4. In this game, I decided to surprise him and went for the positional line. Now, subtle as his opponent subtle or anything like that, which was not treated by our teacher, G.M. Basso. Knight c6 and a3. Very interesting move. Here, I think there are some multiple moves like knight g5, sorry, knight e5, bishop g5. I think e3 is also a move if I'm not mistaken. Bishop d2 can be a move. Yeah, bishop d2 is a rare move. A3 is a move, but main moves, as I just said, E3 and Bishop G5. Knight E5 is an interesting one, but A3, the top third most played move. A3, at that time, the line was not so popular on the high level. Now there are, of course, a lot more games. BC3, BC3, Knight E4, good response by Black, immediately targeting the C3 weakness and forcing the queen to either retreat or white to just put his bishop on a bad square or just give it on by D2. Bishop F4, boom. This was my idea to sacrifice the pawn, just playing for the initiative. And obviously, this was my idea for sacrificing the pawn. And yes, takes. Understandably, Brunello decided not to take since I was prepared. That's a very nice thing to do. I was playing in Delhi a few months back, and I was very tired because my flight was delayed, and I had a tournament next day, and I reached Delhi at like 11, 12, something like that. And it took me more than 1, 2 hours to reach my home. My home was very, very far, so I reached like 2, 3 in the night, and the next day obviously I had to travel again 2 hours. Delhi is just something terrible city, pollution and travel time and everything. Uh, and eventually I got to bed at around 3 and I woke up at 6. So I just had 3 hours of sleep. It was the first day, but rains and everything, just not a good atmosphere overall. I don't know why did I play that event anyways. But it was a fine event and helped me gain some rating back and helped me get back to 1700, which I definitely deserve more. And yeah, so the thing I'm telling you is that there was this game on the first day, is the second round, I think. So no, third round, or maybe I don't know. I think on the next day. But the point was that I was tired and very dizzy. But still, I took this decision because I think in the third round, my opponent was confident that I was going to play X move, something like some weird fianchetto setups, like Grunfeld setups. And I was about to play that thing, but my opponent just teased me before the game that, are you going to play that? Are you going to play that? And I'm like, let's see. And he was quite sure because when I studied him, he used to play pawn e4, but he played pawn d4. And if someone is playing something which he doesn't play usually, that definitely means that he's prepared. That's what I did against Mars Mendra. I played e4. Bro knew that I play one pawn to d4 most of the time, and definitely not pawn to e4. But he knew I was prepared against his friends, so he just decided to play some other opening, and I lost. And in this game, I didn't lose. I was very tired. I drew. But the point was that he was well prepared in my opening, so I switched my opening at the last moment because he can be prepared of something. Of course, I was confident in my preparation as well, but it's just something which works psychologically very, very well. So knight c3, queen c2, knight h4. H4, this game is unbalanced, some critical idea. And obviously, as black, you don't want to go in such dynamic positions, especially when you're unprepared. So castle he went for, this is not he castle he went for a move that is not even in the top four for the engine. So I was out of preparation. E3, bishop d7. The engine shows plus 0.40, which is already a lot in the negotiation. It means the opening has been successful, and so far, good stuff. Queen c2, simple, the most logical move. Yeah, exactly. And the best move. Just retreating back, saving the pawn on c3, and just waiting for what to do. Maybe bishop d3 next. Rook b1 doesn't seem to be a viable move. Perhaps something like takes, and c4, which is again not the best, but bishop d3 is coming next for sure. Knight a5. Black is trying to fight for the c4 square, and here bishop d3. Boom. Simple idea, guys. You lose the knight, takes, whatever. Bishop d3, and his opponent played a very nice move here, c5. Knight f6. Sorry, let's see the other moves. Knight f6 is not that great because CD, ED, bishop g5, to touch is a bad touch, but that's a good thing. Obviously, knight d5, you can just go pawn to c4, and just bishop c3, bishop g3, and then e4 is coming, and your bishop on d7 is also doing bad, and that is just not principle. Bishop g5, very important move. Pinning the knight h6, bishop h4, sorry, c5, and then here castle would be a dubious move. Even though it is logical, because black has g5, bishop g3, and c4, very important move, and black gets counterplay on the light square, bishop f5 and knight e4, and black is just doing fine. And that was the reason, due to this counterplay, that the best move would have been after c5 to go knight e5. Very nice and good move, delaying the castle, but with a very subtle idea of, let's see, g5, bishop g3, and compared to castle after c4, I have this fantastic bishop move, because obviously there is some attack. The rook will work on h1, and white is clearly better. Obviously, I'm not going to explain take, and everything. That just looks he's cooked, and white will win if he dares to capture. Also, yeah, the bishop is not going anywhere. It's a poison bishop, and h4 is coming next. Just save yourself if you can. Bishop e8 can be something interesting, but I guess then just bishop b5, and then bishop d7 can't come with that thing because I can just take an h4. This is a good position. Knight e4 is not coming. That's the key point, because when we take, the knight has to go back. Uh, I mean, just a sample line. uh, 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 like just to explain. Bishop g6, let's say come back here, and then this won't work. Sorry, after knight e5. Yep. Bishop g5, bishop g3, bishop g6. So let's say it just goes back with the idea of capturing perhaps with some play. Though we can still sacrifice and go for h4, but still this idea won't work in any dream scenario, because the knight has to go back. He doesn't have any counterplay on the light square, and his king is cooked. Simple. So knight e5, very important move. And yeah, uh, this is the move. And in the game was played c5. Sabino found the best reaction for black. He's ready to sacrifice a pawn. Um, and here in the game was played c5 is a good move. Castle would have been an interesting try. I think that this is objectively the best. And knight f6, necessary move. Now cd5, and we're very nice intermezzo. Not to go for a typical ed5, because then DC5 and a big advantage for white as bishop D6 is coming next and the pawn is actually gone. But instead C4, a very nice intermezzo preventing us from going to from taking that pawn. And when we move back the bishop, ED5, knight E5. White is slightly better, but it's indeed a complicated game. CD5 was played. It's difficult to find the best move. I went for CD5. This is what the author is saying. So ED5. Now it is a question for white. Do you want to take the pawn or not? Now let's see how the author compares, how the GM thinks. Castles after some normal move. White is safe, but also black can play standard moves. For example, bishop f5, knight g5. Interesting try. The best is CD4. Sorry, knight g5 is interesting, but the best CD4, ED4, rook c8. You don't want to give up that tempo. The game simplifies 94, D4, takes, rook c3. White has a very symbolic edge thanks to the passed d pawn, but most likely it is gonna be a draw. Doesn't seem much resources. I mean, of course, you can play on. You have the bishop against the knight and a very strong d pawn, which is not a weakness, guys. Every isolated queen pawn is not a weakness. I was talking to Earth, my I was talking to Earth, one of my friends, colleagues, and in my city today. Today that yeah that yeah every IQP is not a weakness. I mean, he was very afraid when I was talking to him. So yeah, ED5 and then castle would have been a good move. And here bishop E4 was a very nice move. I went for the more ambitious approach, just going to grab for the pawn, creating some imbalances, but that's how life is all about. Queen E4, white wins a pawn, but loses sometimes, so it is more risky. And the king is still in the center. CD4, black found the right movement to take, and this is a very important move because you can't go the typical CD4 maintaining the structure. You will love to do that. I mean, this is you just have to castle. You are a clean pawn up and a very healthy position. You're just gonna win. But of course, it would be positionally desired recapture. One more move for white, and I'm winning exactly. But black has knight b3. Very nice, brilliant move. The king is unsafe, and black can develop an initiative. For instance, rook d1, bishop b5, knight d2. With precise moves, white can equalize, but black is doing more than fine here. Like this king in the center. And this is how these top players, these GMs realize when you need to sacrifice something to get something, when you don't need to get intimidated by such moves. I would personally just play, a bit passive, but I would be very um, psychologically very disheartened, because I would think that capturing this pawn is a mistake. And instead of just being practical and thinking, okay, what is done is done. I'm not sure if it was the best move. Perhaps it's a bad call, but I still need to give my best. I would see this idea of knight b3, bishop b5, and think that, okay, I'm cooked and I'm losing a pawn. Probably I should just castle and give him the c3 pawn, something like that. And just try to gain that pawn later. I should maintain, and I would just be intimidated and a bit scared. But that's when the time comes is to see what you get in return and make sure your nerves are calm and you find the best approach. And definitely without the ideas and without seeing such games, without working on such positional chess concepts and courses, you are not going to have any idea that such things exist. And that's what I told to Earth today, that bro, you need to do some opening and stuff. You really need to see some attacking games because you are really scared that okay, this will be weakened, this will be gone. And he was just saying some things very I won't say a bit bad, but some things which definitely lack some serious understandings of the fundamental. I mean, some things which someone would never say, especially which demands very basic logics. And even when I explained him, he contradicted. So that means that his fundamentals were a bit unclear. But I told him anyways and asked him to study some pawn structures because this is what everybody thinks IQP is a weakness, and he's not wrong. I was the same as he was, but my teacher Himatsu guided me to study some materials, and I'm sure I don't have a very good fundamental. That is the reason my rating is still very low. But I do feel that I have pretty decent fundamentals, and I'm gonna do good in my next classical event. And it's been like around 18 months since I've played an event, but I'm looking for my next one, best event, and probably with the best mindset. Anyways, so Here, of course, this would be devastating. You can't capture ED4 as the queen is pinned. No need to mention that. So knight d4. Very unpleasant move, apparently. And Earth would probably scream in this position that c3 is a weakness. But let's see. Let's see, guys. And if you think that something is going wrong and you see something new, like for instance, you are contradicting to something and then you turn out to be wrong, that's where you improve the most, because that's where the learning is hiding. So I took with the knight. No other choice. Just see how bold he is. Rook c8, the most logical and the best probably. Now it is a critical moment for white. Do you defend or sacrifice the pawn? If you defend it, how? If you sacrifice it, how? Very nice. Now, I would have perhaps just castle and thought that castle, but that is why I'm not a GM. And he is. Queen c2 would be a normal move, but my thinking process was that the bishop is good on d7. Just notice how bold this concept is, guys. I mean, this concept, what I just learned, is simply magnificent. And even the slightest idea of such things existing has, of course, definitely helped me improve my game somewhere, but has given me some subconscious hints on how resourceful and how advanced this game of chess is, which is very, very mesmerizing. And if you're not able to get what I'm trying to say, then let's just discuss it after the full game, because this concept of this bishop being on, like, just realize that the bishop is on c4 just killing everything. And I would think that's a dream scenario if his bishop comes to d7 and sorry, c4, and the author just provokes that. He thinks that the d7 bishop is probably doing good there, and he doesn't think, he knows that, and that's why he's a GM, and that is the reason why he classically outmaneuvered and outplayed his opponent. Now let's see the game. Rook c8, the most logical and the best probably. How now it is a critical moment. If you defend it, how? If you sacrifice it, how? Queen c2 would be the normal move, but my thinking process was that this bishop is good on d7, restricts my knight on d4, and although I'm a pawn up uh, and can hope for long-term advantage, black should be normal. Castle, if I were to decide to sacrifice the pawn, this would be the most logical move. Lotus logical, playing it safe and sound. Oh, Jesus. Sorry for that, guys. I am back. 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 Damn, son. Back. Rook c3, and then I would decide to sacrifice the pawn. That would be the most logical. Rook c3, queen e5, but same story as earlier. Very symbolic edge for white, but black is quite safe as well. Knight c6, knight c6, and rook c6, queen b4, queen c8. H plus 0.2 for white, opposite color bishops. It would be difficult for win for it would be difficult to win for white. So I didn't go for this. Queen d3. I played this tricky move. I love that code. Inviting him to activate the bishop. Indeed, bishop e6. Brunello went for his tempting move. Since it stops white, like see the bait, guys, the bait, He's luring him into that, and that would be so tempting to play. And you're like, oh, he just blunder, GM just blunder, GM can't castle. I'm doing good, and stuff like that. Bishop's coming to c4. There would be a skewer if he castled. There's blah 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 blah. Boy, you are just getting in a trap to worsen your pieces, and that is. I just have no words. I'm mesmerized. I just have no words. That's just so brilliant, so brilliant. Brunello went for this tempting move since it stops white from castling. Uh, and here, apologies. Queen c2. Engine suggests that this move deserves attention as well. Bishop c4, f3, and compared to the game, f3 is more useful. Rook d1, I wanted to have the queen on b1. Bishop c4, queen b1, but the truth is that the bishop is misplaced. Long story short, the bishop is misplaced on c4 since it doesn't allow the knight from a5 to join in the game. Very nice point. Um, and also the f5 square, which was controlled by the bishop on d7, since it doesn't allow the join. And also have the f5 square to jump to with the knight now. My king on e1 is not in danger, since I always have f3, king f2 to improve it. Queen f6, a very logical move. But rook e8, the best move perhaps. f3, my plan. f3 was my plan. And here, queen h4 would have been a very nice move. This is how black gets counterplay. g3, queen h3, king f2, and black's best is bishop e6. Very nice move. Highlights also how the operation bishop e6, c4 was not great for black. It's 0.12 evaluation. Now the knight's coming to c4. Very complicated position. Anything can happen here. A sample line is g4, knight c4. Obviously, rook cross e3 would be a blunder due to queen b4, which simply wins material. Uh, Knight c4, queen b7, and I don't say white is better, but it is at least interesting for me. All right. Rook e8 was the best move. f3 was the plan, but this plan is not working due to this sample variation as black is getting enough counterplay. h4, an interesting try. Queen f6 with the same idea now. Queen f4 is a big threat. Queen f5 must be played because such moves like g3 and mtp are just very weakening. You don't want to play that. It would be very ugly. Bishop d5 perhaps, and knight's coming to c5, getting tempo. Light square is very weak. Maybe knight c6, bishop f3 in the future. That's just very ugly stuff. Yeah, so f3 was his plan, but that wouldn't work. He might have to play something like this. Queen f4 is a big threat. Queen f4 necessary, but black is fine with many moves in this position. For instance, he's doing good with take. He's doing good with queen b6. Nice with queen a6, and it's just not the best. Queen b1, blah, blah, blah. My king on e1 is not under danger, but his opponent went for the most counterintuitive move. Most natural move, queen f6. Though I personally feel rook e8 would be more natural, as you are destined to know that the rook is doing great on that file against the king, but you are not sure where the queen belongs. So why not just do something you already know and wait for the next move? This is something Emansa taught me once, like the rook is trying to go there. So why just not stay patient and not commit the queen yet? Whatever. So queen e1, queen f6 looks like a natural move. My opponent went for this, which also looks quite logical, but it's a mistake. The reason, f3. I played the most natural move, and compared to 18 rook d8, rook e8, black is full tempo down. Black is still in the game, but it is not easy to understand how to proceed. For instance, the same idea wouldn't work because rook's not on e8, and let's see the variations. Let's do the comparison. Rook e8 check aa rahi hai, and then g3 queen here, and then bishop e6. Everything's coming with the tempo, and basically f4 pawn was in danger. And if we go for the same variation now, queen f6, f3, and then this, Let's say he goes queen h4, then I guess we can do this, and then just bishop e6. I'm not sure if you can take, but let's comply with the engine. What's the subtle difference? Uh, I'm not sure actually. Maybe you can just take, because yeah, g4, nice move, and knight's coming to f5. What if rook e8 now? Knight e6, rook e6. Yeah, this looks like fine position. But what is the key difference? I'm trying to understand that. G4 and then G4 के बाद knight C4 आ रहा है actually, which is giving counterplay. Yeah. Whereas in our position, if he goes queen h4 and then g4, अभी भी तो knight c4 आ रहा है. But rook e8 नहीं है. So maybe it's just safe to capture here. Rook e8, knight for e6 is winning. Yeah. Queen e6 में क्या देगा? Oh, sorry, queen to. हाँ जी बोल. हाँ आ गए. पता नहीं. No idea. No, no, I don't think so. So the crucial difference is bishop g3. Yeah, I failed to realize that bishop g3 आ रहा है यार. क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं? rook e8 पे bishop g3 नहीं आ रहा है. queen h4 पे bishop g3 आ रहा है. And you're gaining a tempo. The king comes to f2 h4 वगैरह सब tempo से आ रहा है. And rook e8 पे आपको g3 करके tempo lose करना पड़ रहा है. यहाँ पर आप bishop g3 कर रहे हो. And very important thing, कोई pawn g3 नहीं कर रहे हो तो कुछ queen भी h3 पे नहीं आ रही है. So you just have to retreat and no good square, no tempo or no nothing. f3 very nice, most logical move. Queen h4 blah, 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 तो मैंने देखा था. Rooks knight c6 the correct maneuver. f3 पर I played the most natural move and compared to black is still in the game but not easy to understand how to proceed. And here नहीं देखना queen h4 knight c6 the correct maneuver. But it was already tough to spot it, very tough to spot since queen b7 is an option. Queen cross b7, knight e7, white is slightly better. Very complicated game. White is slightly better, but black can still fight and It's just very hard to calculate. But the idea was to just get the knight into the game and make sure he controls some T-squares around Bob. Rook c5 was played, which is a dubious move. Useful move seemingly, but very slow. I doubt how such active move, just swinging around the rook for some sort of attack, is very slow. And that is the reason why I'm improving and learning from this guy, not vice versa. Rook c5, king f2, good move, continuing my plan, making sure the king is safe, connecting the rooks, getting the last piece into the game. Rook fc8 and g4. Boom. Very important move and something which really requires some serious balls and very optimal thing for the fundamentals. If you say A, you have to say B. Don't just keep on switching plans. Just stick to them. I mean, if they're not working, then that's a separate thing. But if they are, then don't be tempted to go for the other plans. Just make sure you do something and then you make another plan and achieve the X thing. Rook g4. I take space and I'm also ready to launch an attack. h5 was the best solution, but really tough to spot it as it's very counterintuitive. You're inviting g5, but this brilliant move, queen g6, taking control over the very strong light squares, forcing to trade the queens, going into an endgame with very weird and undoubtedly some poor pawn structure for black. But apparently after e4, um, white is better, but is seriously better for white, but maybe holdable for black. Tough move to spot. G6 was played in the game, but not the best. Dubious move, but quite logical. G5, very important, very nice move, gaining tempo, gaining more space, getting ready for H4, is pushing your opponents back and taking control, the domination, establishing yourself on the dark squares, and something which is really mandatory. And this G5 thing is very useful, some idea which is going to work against your favor, even if you don't know how to proceed well, because the space advantage, just the cramp feeling of your opponent, just the limitations of moving all these three pawns back with one pawns, just limits more and more chances and gives you a very nice, significant psychological plus chess edge. And I was lucky enough to apply this in my last tournament in the team event in Indore against my good friend Oprakash Jia ko call karna tha yaar, shit. Yeah, he needed some help and I promised Saturday, but I just kept, I'll just say sorry, I was very busy. G6, G5, Queen E7, Queen B4. Overall, a useful move. Also fine, but not so necessary. H4 could have been better, was easier and bigger advantage. So why? Just going for the kill, that's it. Just even if you don't want to go H5. Actually, why the hell do you not want to go H5? It's just coming so subtle. You do have some counterplay on the C3 square, but let's see how the game proceeds. Because I doubt what if he just goes bishop D5 here, huh? H4 per bishop D5, then what? I am a bit curious. I'm going to sort of check with the engineer. I'm very curious to see E4, perhaps a nice move. Knight E2 looks good as well. Rook C1 also looks fine. Queen B4 is a good move actually. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, it's better. And then this is clearly better. Let's see some sample variations. E4, bishop C4. Okay, comes back. H5, rook H, just jumping on the H5. That's just so dirty. Bhai. Some Indian you don't pata hai. Wow, bishop H2. So dirty stuff. Takes bishop E3. Just playing on the dark square so well. Wow. Classy stuff, but nice, maza aaya. H5, knight C6, and India is not really capitalizing, huh? Queen B4 is an interesting try. Pawn नहीं मर रहा है ना मुझे Queen B4 का सबसे सटल बात वो लगी. E4 पे pawn बढ़ जाता तो ओ pawn दे दो. वाह. H5, rook C3, pawn जाने दो, right? 25 depth, हाँ, I like it. Rook C3, मारो मारो ना. Oh भाई भाई भाई. Oof. King is safe on G3. Just that's why the G5 was so important. Huh. Knight F5. Oof, very cool. Knight C4, rook D3, rook H6. This seems good. E4, bishop E6, H4, queen B4. This looks nice. Okay. Knight B5 at the same time is quite interesting as well. A6, no. A6, bishop B6. Yes, looks good. Yeah. Okay, bishop E4, yeah. Very nice stuff, huh? But very impractical for humans. Though very same subtle idea. Queen B4, useful move. But also find H4 was bigger. B6 and H4. And now my attack on the H file is probably winning without any defense for black. Bishop A6, black cannot even take because of the queen on E7. That is why I just love this move. queen b4, h5, queen e8, hg6, fg6, rook h6, and rook c3. Final fatal mistake. The king is doing safe on c3. I don't know what's the best move, but rook h1 just goes back because check is not even coming. That square is covered, and you have such a nice control over the dark squares. I really love it. Really love it. The best move was rook 3. The best move was rook 3 c7 to give up the exchange. Oh yeah. Oh wow. To give up the exchange, bishop c7, my opponent resigned 10 moves later, but the conversion is of course not a problem. It was a trend strategical battle. My decisions were based on positional understanding of what I needed to do. And I think that the most important key moment was queen d3. Interesting. Very nice idea, baiting that bishop into the nice, that weakened thing. When I invited him to take place to c4, stopping me from castling, the game then turned from a typical position with compensation for black into a more double-edged battle with more difficult moves to find for my opponent. And I still don't get why White is winning. But this is just some feel you get, guys. Just some feel. Like clearly, there's this feeling that White is completely winning. The attack is crushing. Some great control over the dark squares, and just some crushing thing. Yeah. So just a quick recap of the game. Ragosian simple stuff. Bishop f4, sacrifice the pawn. e3, पीछे आ रहे ठीक है. Just standard developing stuff. Boom, choice bottom decision. Going for the brave one. Knight d4, kind of playing post. Not caring about the weakness. ठीक है, जाती है तो जाने दो, but पकड़ के रखो. Bishop e6, baiting. Yeah, baiting. On नहीं दिया. Queen c2, very interesting try कि पकड़ के रखे ये वो, but normal move baiting. मुझे डर लग जाता अब तक कि भाई नाइट c4 आ रहा है, ये आ रहा है, वो आ रहा है. But queen d3 is such a baiting move, guys. Such a baiting move because, of course, we can argue that after queen c2, black is doing fine, all the pawn, but black can offer long-term advantage. Knight's coming to c4, there's b5, a6, and everything. But queen d3 is such a baiting move. I just love such moves. And now we can argue that, guys, that queen d3 was maybe a cheap trick or something like that. But come on, guys, if these guys can fell for it at that GM level, of course we are very beginners, and why can't we just go for such baiting moves, because that requires some serious understanding. And definitely there's no problem knowing this thing, and no problem watching this video 37 minutes long on 2x is helping you enhance some of your knowledge. I doubt if that should be even controversial. The pinch, even an ounce of controversial for not at least knowing this idea, because cheap tricks or something, whatever it is, they do work. And it's quite logical in the end as well. You're just psychologically hinting your opponent. You're saying that I'm not going to let you get off that pawn that easily. You can hammer me by some stuff. And perhaps the game would have went on. I'm still curious to see some variations, except bishop e6, because that is fundamentally very wrong. But just see, guys, like, who wouldn't play bishop e6? You are inviting him into this pin, and he's like, oh, he blundered, I can go bishop e6, he can't capture knight e6. That's the move I was afraid of. Now I can activate my bishop. He cannot castle. His queen is pinned. Every black player would think that white made a slight positional error and he can go bishop e6 and capitalize on the c4 diagonal, but not knowing it is into a trap. So just having that understanding, playing such moves, setting into a trap is in itself comment. a6 again, a nice move. Okay, game है भाई, game है. That is what अभी भैया said me. Game है भाई, game है, whatever. Queen a6, queen b6, just trying to capitalize something. The position is always, this is just a game, guys. You play a game. You play a game of chess, but these tiny things just compound. If nobody is making mistakes, just like engine, the game is always a draw. For you to win, your opponent ought to make a mistake. And for him to make a mistake, you have to force him to commit a mistake. You have to force him into such positions. You have to force him into such decisions. You have to give him that dilemma so that he cracks up. He just gives up something, and that's not going to happen just by sitting laying around and trying to make some random improving moves without a plan, being clueless and just going with the flow. Nah, that's not how things are supposed to work. a6, rook c4, and maybe baiting, and this is weird stuff. Looks bad for white. वाह, पहले एफर्ट चल के वीकनेस बनवा दो, फिर दूसरी मूव में मरवा दो. वाह भाई, इंजन है भाई. कंपनसेशन में क्या, कुछ भी नहीं. सेंटर कॉन में मास. वाह. हाँ ठीक है, गेम है भाई, गेम है. अभी भैया का डायलॉग है, गेम है, ये भी गेम है. चॉइस है कौन सा गेम खेलना है. गेम है. अब तुमने कोई वीकनेस दी तो वो छोड़ेंगे थोड़े ना. तुम खुद ही दे रहे हो उसको. गेम है, whatever. गेम है खेलेंगे. कहीं डी फाइल पे खेलेंगे, सी फाइल पे खेलेंगे. गेम है भाई, गेम है. Bishop e6, Brunello went for the sorry bishop c4 and just very interesting stuff here. यहाँ पर हो जाते हैं obviously trap and then f3 boom, very important move to play rook e8. But again, making sure the king is safe. That seriously requires some balls, you know. I would be the last person to think in this position to have an idea of three, but now I would. Perhaps I will just play very static play, rook b1, queen a4, just try to hammer these two pawns. And a very calm, cool game, but boom, changing the dynamics. King safe on f, boom, g4, g5, boom, boom, boom. Leaving space, paralyzing on the queen side, making sure he has no counterplay. Boom, 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 capitalizing on the h file, paralyzing him, his ideas, his positions, his pieces, with no clue what to do so ever, and just making sure maneuvers and everything just led him to a terrible, uncoordinated, weak position, and then boom, a final blow. The game's yours. यार गेम नहीं मिल रहा, उल्लू तो नहीं बना रहे भाई ये लोग। वाह, इटालियन चैंपियनशिप पे डीजीटी बोर्ड ही नहीं था, वाह। अच्छा है ना, Italian Championship, Basso Puerlogio, our mentor, 28-year-old teacher. 2492, Bruno Sobeno, another Grandmasters. Not a strong player, guys. But see just the understanding, the way he outplayed 2-5-1, just showing his domination over a player below 25, below 2500. But that's still class, guys. It's not something easy. Class that requires class. H4, boom, rook at 6, bara bara. Rook H4, Bishop F7, Rook F4. Very nice maneuver. Rook D1, Bishop D5, Knight E2 back. Exchange job, just dominating these squares. King was doing very well. King F2, that's such a dank move. आजा, आजा. क्या करेगा तू? क्या करेगा? आजा, build लाइन. क्या करेगा? करे क्या लेगा तू? क्या कर लेगा? What will you do? क्या लेगा मेरा? That's such that kind of irritating annoying move. I'll just keep bro. तू कर क्या लेगा मेरा? तू ये बता. तू क्या कर लेगा? That's just such a dank move. Queen d2, d file, simple chess, very slow, boom. टैक्टिकल एरर है, बट ठीक है, क्या करेगा भाई, वो रुक कहाँ हटेगा, फिर क्वीन d6 आ रहा है, रुक c4 तो नहीं, बट नाइट d5 भी आ रहा है, क्या ही करेगा भाई, क्या ही करेगा, boom boom, and obviously this leads to this boom, resignation. Love this game, absolutely love this game, enjoying this course so far, and it's really good, and hope if you have been into this video. Yeah, so if you have been into this video for so long, I'm pretty sure that you must have learned something. And even I'm gonna watch my own video and review this game maybe in the future, just to have a quick glance of what I learned and how instructive it was. And I hope it was worth your time, guys. Yeah, it is not that stupid. And I hope you learned something. And yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.